so on. But cause for concern because of the process. There were not enough candidates, deep enough candidates in the pool. We're working on that. We've made a lot of progress in the last decade with African-American coaches, upward mobility. We need to make more. We're setting some goals. We had a good meeting with a great cross-section of outstanding coaches who spoke well for minority coaches and for coaches generally in the NFL. So by this time next year, I hope that some new goals have been not only set, but met.
A couple of meetings you had, right? Some with established names and some with names that the public really may not know. Some young, up-and-coming Afro-American coaches.
Well, that's true. You know, Ray Sherman was one of the coaches in the group, and Dennis Green was involved in working with me to make the meeting constructive. But we had other young coaches, Clarence Shellman from Seattle, Gerald Carr from the Eagles, and others who really were positive in the meeting, both about the league and what we can do to do better in the future.
Everybody talking cap, although we didn't see the movement that we thought last night that we would see in the first round. You know, in a couple of years, that has to be explored again. Are you concerned that some teams are saying, my goodness, we can't draft where we are because the salary cap doesn't allow us, or is that really just a few teams barking?
Well, you know as well as anyone, there's a lot of tactics here. There's a little bit of shake and bake in the draft. People are playing the chess game, and I think the system is working well in terms of competition on the field. We had a terrific season last year. We're looking for another great one this year. There's some financial problems, but this trading down is something that's always been part of the draft, and as Bill Parcells put it, volume is important in addition to quality. When you can get both, then you're building your team.
You know, he's done this before, Sylvia. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
The commissioner handled, except for a slight mic problem, with aplomb up there. We move on in the second round. We will continue from here at the theater in New York in a moment. Thank you, Chris.
The Michelin X1 with a 6-year unlimited mileage tread life warranty gives you better wet traction than any rain tire, plus Michelin confidence in most driving conditions. Because you don't just cover a lot of miles, you cover a lot of weather.
I've seen every card there is. Thousands of cards. Super 8's VIP card. It says, congratulations, your reservation is guaranteed, and you get 10% off. Life's great at Super 8.
It has arrived. The day when you stop listening to the tales of other lives lived and begin the odyssey that will be your story. When you find the destiny to which you were born, all you need to bring with you is your honor, your courage, and your commitment. It's your journey. Make it a good one. Call 1-800-USA-NAVY. Let the journey begin.
Hey, Brett, these guys have a beer menu. This beer is made with lingonberries. Ooh, and this one has a dash of espresso. Aura of forbidden coconut. 2 Coors.
Since 1873. Original Coors. Pure and simple.
Peach medley. You see this? This beer has beer in it.
The 97 Mazda 626LX Sports Sedan. Lease for $219. Add an automatic and the lease goes to. Add power everything and the lease cruises to. Add air and a sweet sound system and the lease rolls to. Add the best basic warranty in its class and you get the idea. Lease or buy. $17,595. Ends April 30th.
All right, the second round roars on here at the 62nd Annual NFL Draft. Let's get you caught up here. The last pick of the first round, in case you missed it, was the Packers guard, Ross Verber from Iowa. Rick Terry began the second round, shaken by the Jets, defensive tackle, North Carolina. Nathan Davis, defensive tackle, Indiana, to Dan Reeves in Atlanta. And Rob Kelly, safety, Ohio State. Another Buckeye goes. He goes to New Orleans, and Mike Ditka. Jamie Sharper, a guy that a lot of folks had in the middle of the first round, linebacker, Virginia, goes to Baltimore. And Juan Roque, one of the main men involved protecting Jake Plummer at Arizona State, He goes to Detroit. The Giants are on the clock now, followed by Tampa Bay. Jamie Sharper, good value for the Ravens, Mel.
Great value. If you remember, if the Ravens would have made that trade with the Giants and dropped down to 7, they would have taken James Farrior. Now they get his teammate, but only in the early second round. And it's a great value pick for the Baltimore Ravens, desperate for some outside linebacker help. This kid is a true 4-3 outside linebacker. Really a very productive player. See, 435 career tackles. You watch him here, number 33. Really, early in his career, he probably had a higher rating than Farrior. And even at times this year, he had a higher rating than James Farrior. But kind of slid down just a little bit, spent a little time, too much time on the ground for some clubs liking. But overall, just a very good, very productive outside linebacker. Very experienced in pass coverage and getting after people to the flanks. Rick Lance, of course, and I can't give him enough credit for the development of Farrior and Sharper. Coach these guys very well, turned them loose a little more this season, let them get after the quarterback. So I think Ted Marchapro and the Ravens are getting a multi-dimensional outside linebacker that should be, just like they hoped Farrior would be if they would have had him. This kid Sharper could be a starter right away on the outside in a 4-3.
Let's whip around to a couple of our insiders. Let's start with Sal Palantonio at Jets headquarters at Hofstra. Sal?
Well, I think, as Mel said, Boomer, Farrior and Sharper are two picks that everybody expected to go in the first round. And I talked to Ozzie Newsome, the vice president of director of personnel and relations for the Ravens, and he said that they would really love to get Sharper if they could, and they got him, and they really need help at outside linebacker. They cut Kroll, Gerald Williams, and Mike Caldwell. Both were hurt a lot. Don't forget they went back from a 3-4 to a 4-3 and experimented a lot. And Vinny Testaverde had a career year at quarterback, but the defense is ranked last in the league in just about every category. So they really had to upgrade their defense, and with these two players, Peter Boulware and Jamie Sharper, they have done that. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen in Miami.
Sal, the other New York team, the Giants, I think they're considering a very interesting pick here. I think they're considering Tiki Barber, the Virginia running back. Even though they have Tyrone Wheatley and Rodney Hampton, Jim Fossel wants a third down back, and Tiki Barber caught 66 passes in his career at Virginia. They were so high on Tiki Barber, I was told this morning he was actually a first-round consideration for the Giants. It'll be interesting to see if Fossel continues to convince George Young that he can go offense to surround Dave Brown with players like Ike Hilliard and like Tiki Barber, who can catch the ball. Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Mort, thank you. And let's look at the Ravens for a moment, who find themselves in an up-and-coming division. Of course, Jacksonville is up and come. Pittsburgh has been there. Houston and Cincinnati on the move. But Baltimore, boy, they had a great year with Vinny last year, yet they couldn't hold the lead. Now they got Boulware, and now they have Sharper, so they're addressing, obviously, their need.
Right, Jacksonville really up and went past everybody else, Boom. That's exactly right. Baltimore winds up putting Vinny Testaverde in the Pro Bowl. He winds up throwing 31 touchdown passes. But look at the rankings. 30th in total yards, 30th in passing, points a game, 28, takeaways, 28, sacks, 25th. I mean, this is a football team that just wasn't very productive on the defensive side of the football. The other big problem that they had is even when they had leads, and they had a number of them going into the fourth quarter this past year, they weren't able to keep them. The offense couldn't carry them. I think this is an area where with Ted Marchapro, it feels like they had to focus on. Obviously, they have.
Well, we just had a pick, and personally, one of my favorite players in the draft. My favorites, the guys I was watching, I mean, we like a lot of them. Wiley, we talked about at Columbia. Jake Plummer, Arizona State, love him. And Tiki Barber, a guy who's not that big. The Giants just took him, running back from Virginia. But, boy, he runs tough.
Well, he does, Chris. He's up to about 195 pounds and on 200 area at times. He was only 170 early in his career. Tremendous productivity. A great punt returner. Also averaged 12.7 yards per punt return. Look at the elusiveness and the breakaway speed. You don't see a lot of differences between Tiki Barber and Warwick Dunn. Very creative runner. Good change of direction ability. Shifty. A guy can be, I think, an outstanding pass receiver. Down the field, catch the football, and do some damage. So he's going to fit in very well with Jim Fassel. Runs hard, tough kid, and tremendously versatile when you factor in that great ability as a punt returner. Against Florida State during his career, Tiki Barber came up big every time. So it didn't matter the competition in the ACC. Tiki Barber was consistently productive. He'll be very good in Jim Fassel's offense. Certainly, filling in where maybe a Warwick Dunn would have. Now they get that guy in the second round.
Well, a chant of George must go a little bit because the fans don't understand. I mean, Wheatley and Hampton, but Barber is a different sort of player. And again, we're talking about helping out Dave Brown. By the way, 4 guys from the Virginia Cavaliers And think about those games that Tiki Barber had, by the way, against Florida State. I mean, he was unbelievable, especially the game a year ago on a Thursday night.
We talked about the Giants all along, Chris. They've got to get playmakers. They've got to get playmakers. What they got in Hilliard, they got a guy who can catch and run with the football. Now all of a sudden you have a guy for Dave Brown to get the ball out of the backfield with.